All right, so how are you guys doing? How's Louisville treating you?
It's raining. What happened there? I
but
come
we're
from the
inside.
West Coast. We don't know what that is.
Hold on. Did you guys plan this? Do you guys see this?
Look at us. Aren't we clever?
We're lucky she got here. This is a big place, right? They brought Margaret and me here, Tinkerbell, mind you, on a Harley Davidson backwards to get in here.
Yes. How did you find it? We were sure that you couldn't find it.
So how are you guys doing? They're ready.
And how is this place, this wonderful place, Louisville? Let me share this with you. This old grunt has been a lot of places, okay? Anybody who frowns in this joint ought to see a shrink. You guys are wonderful.
Yes.
This this your first time in Louisville, or you've been here before?
Now, I didn't expect this question.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one.
Alibi in advance. No, 1971, when I was recovering from very serious wounds, I was asked to do a eulogy here for a young Marine sergeant. I remember well.
Hey, but stop pounding. Okay. And you got to Louisville.
Yes,
Right here. It's a beautiful town.
Yeah, and they let me go.
And now you're back here, and we're talking about classic Disney, talking about Bambi, talking about Peter Pan, talking about Walt himself.
Bambi, of course, came before Peter Pan, or after. After, which way? Tell
Before.
us.
It was before.
Long
It was before.
Okay. So you've held up very well.
How do you know it's really me? I may be a clone.
A hologram. That's the newest thing, isn't it?
Is that hyphenated?
And as Bambi, you got to you said the famous words butterfly, and you named Flower.
Flower? No, here's a thumper now. That's not a flower. Ha 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 ha. For a thumper to be giving diction lessons, I mean, come on.
Well, it's so interesting when he mentions Thumper and Flower, because I worked with Mark Davis, who designed Tinkerbell, and he originally designed Thumper and Flower and changed the whole direction of the Disney studio.
That's right.
Hey, so both of you got to work hand in hand with Mark Davis, as somebody who I absolutely wish I could have, just met to talk to. But you guys got to work hand in hand with him. What was that like?
The truth is, I was too young to appreciate the significance of that until much later. The audience in this wonderful group needs to be aware that after Bambi and Pearl Harbor, okay, I never talked about any of the movies. I was in 8 of them, and Bambi was the only animated. And at age 14, I'm in a boarding house supporting myself from then to now. 25 years in the Marine Corps, I never mentioned any of the films until the last month, and a wonderful general named Kenneth Houghton got a hold of the FBI investigation for the White House clearance I had, and he's a wonderful man. I love him to death. He called me in his office. True story, the Marine Corps loves this. And mind you, now 25 years in the Marine Corps, I'm a battalion commander, Marine Corps boot camp. He's a commanding general named Kenneth Houghton. Look him up, great guy. He called me in his office and did this. Watch. Major, I want you to audit the auditors that are auditing the PX. I got a court-martial going on. I'm a battalion commander in Marine Corps boot camp. Can you imagine? Okay, I'm a little busy. I never talked back to him ever in 25 years. I couldn't help it. Oh, audit the auditors in PX? Yes, sir. Can I do it at 4:30 in the morning? Dunagan, don't get smart with me. I was never smart. He's a general. I'm a major. Right? All right, so how about 5:30? Dunagan. And he reached over. He never said that to me. And on the side of his desk was a dossier. I didn't see it. Marked top secret. Had my name on it. He patted this. Famous story in the Marine Corps. They love it. Patted this. Looked up at me. Major Bambi. You will audit the auditors, won't you, sir? Guess who ordered the order?
Well, to see Donnie, it's a strange situation with family of Disney, because you can be gone from each other for 50 years and suddenly find someone that worked on a picture that they were making the same time that you were doing it, and suddenly they are your best friend again, their long-lost cousin. There's a family feeling with the people that have worked in the Disney movies that you just don't get if you work at Columbia or Universal or Warner Brothers. I tell you, Warner Brothers is a place that says, you work here, you're doing a picture here, okay, come on in and behave yourself, and we may let you come in. If you come to Disney, it's, oh, come on down, let's have some fun. It's one of the happiest places on earth, the Disney studios. And I've worked in every single one of them since I was 4 years old. I've been in the business 86 and a half years. Yeah, that's a lot. And I've loved it. But I have never found a studio that has the same feeling that Disney has, and it's the same feeling that you think that you know that they might have. Trust me, they do. That everything is for you and what you have. And as I say, 50 years later, you meet somebody who was in Bambi or Bambi, one or the other, and he's suddenly your cousin, and you're so happy to meet him. And then his family, and that's the whole thing about working with Disney.
That's. Now, we talked about Bambi a little bit and Mark Davis and not being able to appreciate, but you got to work with Mark Davis, designing Tinkerbell. And I see you have some posters and some signs here. Would you like to talk about those?
I do.
Here, all right.
Am I powerful or what?
Absolutely. It's like the sword and the stone.
Yes. Okay. Let me tell you a story about. So I am a dance director over at 20th Century Fox, and I hope this is the right one. Probably not. We came in late. Oh, this is a picture of me when I was 4 years old, and I was adopted. My mother died, and here I was with some wonderful older people who said, she caused the Depression. She was born in 1929, and everything went right downhill from there. So put her to work. And that's what you did. And maybe some of you have seen The Little Rascals. I was in 8 of them and tap danced and became a dancer with them. Let's see if I'm going in the right direction now, Milo. Okay. And here's another picture of me dancing in the Eddie Cantor movie. If you knew Susie, I was a solo dancer and did quite well, thank you very much. And thank you. And so I just thought you would like to see some of those. So anyway, here I am at 20th Century Fox. I'm assistant dance director after doing 172 shows for ABC Network with Charlie Ruggles. And I'm dancing away, and I get a call from my agent. And my agent says, can you get the day off? They're interviewing over for a 3.5-inch sprite who doesn't talk. And I said, well, I hate to ask them for a day off. We got a big, it's at Disney, I'll be there. And we all felt that way, I'll be there. So the next morning, I'm there, and I drive up in my little car, and lo and behold, the man with the clipboard, the important guy with the clipboard, found my name. Wow, this is getting better and better. And then he showed me where I could park, just for me. This is getting better and better and better. He told me where to go to get to the Mark Davis's office. And I got out, and I was immediately lost. And this is what I want to tell you about Disney. This great big huge man came over, very lanky man. He says, you look lost. And I said, I am. Mark Davis, I'm looking for a rehearsal hall because I'm a dancer, right? And he said, I'll take you. He stopped and he said, I'll take you. You would never find that at MGM, at Paramount, at Fox, any place else. And I thought, I like this place. And we went up to the 3rd floor, and there was Mark Davis's office, and that's when the first time I found out his name was M-A-R-C. And I walked in, and there in his room was all the pictures, the sketches that he had done of this darling little fairy named Tinkerbell. And I will show you what he asked me to do and how I got the job, okay? So I'm going to put this down. I am not an electrician, so if... Thank you.
There we go.
We wanted to stand on a mirror, on a dresser. Do you remember this in the nursery scene? And so I did. And he said, would it be convenient for you to come to work next Tuesday?
And so you showed up, right?
Well, one of the things that you saw when I moved and when I did that, I played her as a 9-year-old little girl who had never seen a mirror before. Why would they have a mirror in Neverland? And so she's not preening herself. Go back and look at it. She's looking excitedly like, that's how I look. That's me. I've never seen me before. And it made a difference, but our culture has gone on for 68 years from that time when I did the work. And it's now, oh, she's preening herself. She's become such a smart aleck. She wasn't. She is just a little fairy. He is so interested in Adventure Ho. She's a groupie for Peter Pan, and she's terrified that she's not going to go on the adventure. That's Tinkerbell.
I'm an old physicist that takes notes, okay? When I get home, I'm going to write a special note about this lady. Guess what? It's going to be quoted for. No batteries required.
And you got to work with Mark Davis, but I guess more importantly, there was another man that you both got to
Yes.
work with.
Yes.
By the name, does anybody know who I'm talking about? Walt Disney.
W-E-D. Yes. Walter Elias Disney. I had to stop and think. I'm 90 years old. You know, give me some slack here.
Mr. Dunagan, Major Dunagan, do you remember the first time that you met Walt?
Yes. Yes. He'd been in 7 or 8 movies with dialogue. Little co-star one kid with all the curly hair. And by the way, that curly hair was phony. He curled it twice a day. It was lousy. I hated it.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, true story. Anyway, I'm in the kitchen at Westwood, California, our very first house. We had come out of the Depression. Parents working for 20 cents an hour before all these movies, okay? Bang, 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 big change. I'm in the kitchen, phone's on the wall. My mom gets a call from a man named Mr. Disney. Now, Disney does not mind my being candid with you about this, or I'm not going to be any other way, okay? We didn't know Disney or Mr. or Walt by more than a 5-gallon milk cow. We had no idea who this was, okay? Truly, we should have, didn't. Huh? He wanted me to be in a film and to be the facial model for his artist first. That's what my mother heard, and I did that first, okay? I went in the kitchen. My mom said something very clever like, oh, okay. And she called my agent. My agent was from upstate New York. I can imitate that rather well without being discourteous. I did not like him from the beginning, okay? Remember Barney Fife?
Yes.
Well, this guy wore a bow tie, but he was born rude. I mean, he was rude, okay? And rude to my mother. Now, I'm only 5 years old then, 5 and a half, and later I boxed until 32, okay? I wish I had been 32 then. I'd dropped this guy, okay? So here he comes. She called him. We're going to go to Disney. Oh. So here he comes in his big limousine to the house. In our living room. He is adamant about not doing anything with Disney. You don't know. We don't want Donnie in a cartoon. I'm lending him up for a Western, blah, blah, blah. I'm 5.5 years old. La, 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 la. My mother says, I want him to do this. He would have a good time. All those films at our ages steals your childhood. Okay? I didn't get in school until I was 7.5. Thank goodness I had good tutors. Good tutors. Okay? Work, 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 work. This guy is eminent and being very tacky in our living room. Okay? I'm not in the Marine Corps yet, but I'm rehearsing. I fired him. This made the second page of Variety magazine. I fired this guy. You can't fire me, my mother. Listen to this.
You fired him?
She turned to him. Huh?
You fired him?
I fired the bum. Yeah. And my mother turned to me and looked at him and says, he's paying the bills.
Oh-ho. Oh-ho.
Well, he picked up his big old briefcase, got back in his limousine, and laid rubber in our driveway. When we got to Disney 2 days later, there was no freeways then, right? From Westwood, California to the brand new studios, then just finished of construction in Burbank, California, was a lot of ding-dings. Now, I measured distances in those days. Remember the signs? Some of you that are old as me, nobody's here old as me. The signs were actual signs with stop and go on it. Ding, 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 stop, ding, 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 go. 35 ding-dings away, we got this. Walt Disney, who later, like now, some author somewhere will find some little nitpicking thing and try to pick on him, okay? I wish you'd see me, okay? You don't pick on Walt Disney, right? Mr. Disney was a joy, an absolute joy, okay? He came out to greet us. I said, and somebody told me this is where all the cartoons were made. I'm going, wow, where are all these stuff? He was a delight. He had his sleeves up half the time, helping everybody, everybody. A class man with some dignity. He was a creator extraordinaire, and for a guy who can't draw a horse, I respect the creators, okay? He was a class man, just as Disney is a class outfit.
Amen. Amen. Now, I'm going to tell you how I met Walt Disney. And I shouldn't have. It shouldn't have happened. I was brought up from the time I was 4 years old that the head of a studio would forgive me, but that was what they said. He was God. He could make no mistakes. You would never, ever see him, but he was the head of the studio. If you did see him, you could curtsy and bow. That's the way. If he spotted you, he could make you a star tomorrow. So you couldn't make any mistakes, But you never saw the head of the studio at all. So I'm in the middle of the big sound stage 1 at Disney in my one-piece bathing suit, you could see over there, working with Mark Davis. And because Tinkerbell did not have any voice in the original movie, they had the big door open, the one where you could drive the trucks in on the sound stage, and the sun was shining, and a group of men, we could see their shadows walking in. Buddy Ebsen was the head of it. You couldn't miss his movement. And they're over there about 40 feet away on the wall working on a project on little risers, and then there are little pieces of paper marking the heights of things and so on. And I'm going ahead and doing what I'm doing. The men break up over there, and one man steps away and comes over to talk to Mark Davis and comes over to talk to the cameraman. And they call me over, and they introduce me to Walt Disney. And I said, very, very nice. Well, folks, I never saw him as Walt Disney. I saw him as the head of a studio. I was terrified. At 19 years of age, I was terrified. So I stood there like a schoolgirl, my hands behind my back, being polite and calling him, and we called everyone Mr. You didn't say, hi, Mark. It was Mr. Davis. It was Mr. Disney, and so on and so forth. And that was lovely. And he was slim and charming. Couldn't have been nicer. He was looking over the work we were doing. And he left. And we finished up. And I was still, we broke for lunch. I was sort of stopped. And so it happened again. And I'm still going, the head of the studio. Do I curtsy? Do I bow? Can I talk to him? I had just, as a kid, this is really implanted in you. Well, the third time it happens, I suddenly went, oh my gosh, he's Walt Disney. It took me, and so I said to him, and he said the nicest thing to me. He said, well, I understand that you went to school with my daughters, which was true. I had just graduated from school. Sharon was the class ahead of me, and Diane was the class behind me. And I said something brilliant like, yes, I did. And so he stood there and he said, I'm sure they must have liked you. I said, well, I like them, kind of thing. And we stood there and sort of looked at each other. And then he finished. And the fourth time, I was ready for him. It was like, and nothing came out. But he was charming, and he was beautifully dressed. And he was working on another project over on the wall. And why was he not working on his own sound stage? I mean, we were sharing a sound stage because they only had one sound stage in those days. And he was working on a thing called animatronics. And they were building towards Little Man. They were doing that project right then and there. And so I was right in the middle of it and then watched them work with an articulated crocodile that was going to be at the theme park.
That's great. Donnie, do you have any other, besides obviously meeting him for the first time, any good Mr. Disney stories?
I almost got fired twice. My mother was terrified. Excuse me. All this activity, never had a chance to listen to Bambi. That sounds like a New Jersey gangster, 2 times. The first time, Boris Karloff, a few months before, in Son of Frankenstein, had given me a water gun for Christmas. Okay? He never fessed up to this, but I know it was his. Okay? It was made in Germany. That baby was super. Took 2 fingers to squirt it, and it really worked. Okay? I tell children today in orphanages and other places, even in Panama, don't do what I just did. I did that for my mother forever. I have guilt feelings about that now, but I got away with it. Okay? I got this water gun. I'm at Disney. I'm being told to go where I'm supposed to go for a change. I'm going down the hallway. The only person in Disney that was a grump. This guy was a first-class rated grump. Okay? Here he comes down the hallway. Famous story. Got all kinds of stuff in his room, and he's mumbling. Like grumps do, right? Big hallway. Plenty of space. Brand new building at Burbank. I'm going where I'm supposed to go. And he says this. Get out of the way, kid.
Oops.
Whoops. Okay? I'm 6.5 years old at this point. I'm not boxing yet, but close. Yeah? So I got out of the way. Then he pauses, and I'm about 5 feet past him at an intersection of the hallway. I got my water gun out. I looked around the side. Both fingers in that big German water gun. Got him right here, splat. He dropped his papers. Look, the ceiling, it's leaking, that place is leaking. The sunshine outside. Remember typewriters? Real ones? Ready, tat, tat, tat. Sound like a bunch of machine guns. Lots of red tat, tat stopped. Ladies came out of the hallways looking. This guy, I got him. I get ready to escape around the corner of this intersection of the hallway, and right behind me is a tree in a 3-piece suit. I think it is Mr. Disney's brother. I'd love to tell you I know that for sure, but I don't. I looked up, He looked at me. Remember Mother Superiors doing this? I got one of those deals, looking down at me. I thought, Then he looks around the corner and sees who this is. This guy's picking up his papers, and guess what he's doing? He smiled at me. That's why I think it's Mr. Disney's brother. He smiled at me and gave me one of these shots.
Get lost, kid.
I've been to offices that haven't seen a child since birth. My apprenticeship for being a running back. I got back to where I'm supposed to be. I hope my mom's not there. I hid my water gun. Kids, don't do this. I hid my water gun. Okay? Here comes security. Now, not like today, overdressed, boom, boom, Very nice man. We knew was security, in a suit, no weapons. He came up and did
No
this.
weapons.
Disney loves this story to this day. Donnie, I need your gun. I thought I had a deal going here. Frankenstein gave this to me. This is from Frankenstein. I thought they would cut it, right? Cut no rights. Took my water gun. My mom still didn't know. Don't tell my mom. 16 years ago, when Disney realized I was still there, still alive, I had been reported killed in action once. I'm still alive. Right? And they had us out to Burbank. Oh, a lot of fun. Boom, boom, boom. I'm in the boardroom, lunch room, where the mahogany talks to the red leather. You know, that's right. And we're having lunch with the board of directors of Disney. They're courteous, gracious people. I'm waiting for, I need a straight man really bad. Yeah, on this heel. If perfect, one fellow turns and says, and Donnie, while you're here, is there anything we can do for you? I want my gun back. That board, you never saw a board of directors of magnificent Disney freeze. Gun, what gun? You guys took my gun in 1941. I want it back. They sent a security guy down in the archives. He may still be there looking for that video.
Well, I'm going to pass on a little bit further on something of Mark Davis that he changed my life as well as being Tinkerbell, if I may. And once again, I'm going to try not to trip. And if I do, don't laugh. Boy, these are big microphones. So anyway, I'm there with, do any of you watch Rocky and Bullwinkle? Well, June Foray, who is Rocky, the voice of Rocky, she was the dark-haired mermaid, and Connie Hilton was the blonde mermaid, and we went and did you start out with the track. You record a track, and then they match the things to the track. That's the way that they used to do animation anyway. So we were recording at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you remember the redheaded mermaid said something about, we just wanted to drown her. That was me. And June was a friend of mine. She passed away at the age of 94, still doing voiceover. And I used to tease her because, did any of you see the movie Mulan? Do you remember Grandma? Do you remember Grandma? Well, that was June Foray. And she had the best line in the whole movie, if you remember, at the very end. Better you should have brought back a man. And so June and I, we were over the microphones all the time, but we decided, go for voiceover. And so it changed my life because I also did about 400, 500 cartoons. I did 139 cartoons with the Three Stooges, voiceovers, et cetera, et cetera. And I also, at the same time, has nothing to do with voiceover, but I want to get it in. I am Helen Scobie and Bess Muggins on the Andy Griffith Show. So I travel for that. So those are all the ones that are going. And I'm going to show you how talented I am because I'm going to do a story in dialect, and then I'll sit down. I won't shut up, but I'll sit down. Okay, this is the one just to show you, because I told you I was adopted, and I never knew who my family was, and I always suspected I was Irish. So now don't tell anybody I did this because it's politically incorrect to do dialects nowadays. Promise? Okay. I love this one. It's short and sweet. It's in an Irish pub, And they're having a grand time, and they're talking about all this stuff that's going on, diversity and so on. And one of them says, you know, I think I would have been like to be born an Italian because all the girls come after the Italians. And the other one says, oh, I don't know, which is pretty good. They said, let's go ask Paddy what he thinks. So they go over and they say, Paddy. He says, what is it? He says, what would you be if you weren't Irish? And Paddy says, I'd be ashamed. And so I found out that I'm Scots-Irish 50 years later, and I found my whole family.
Were you able to watch your respective movies, Bambi and Peter Pan, in the theater when they came out?
I don't remember. I really don't. I remember the first time. It's in my book. By the way, stop by our tables. We've got lots of more stories to tell you, and we've got things that we want you to buy. Okay. But it's in my book that I got a call from Mark Davis, and he said, come, we're going to animate one little part of Tinkerbell. And it was a line drawing that they animated. It's the one where she's sitting in Peter's hat, and she's just having a hissy fit. And so I go to the projection room, and I did not realize it was packed. There were many people who thought that Tinkerbell would not work. I didn't know that. I heard it all around me. And of course, I wanted to answer them back, these silly people. What did they know? But the point was, I didn't know how to talk to them, so I'm sitting there. Walt Disney walked in, by the way, and somebody said, here, Walt, take my seat. And I heard this voice say behind me, no, I'm fine, you're here. And he leaned against the wall. The head of the studio leaning against a wall, I mean, that was amazing. Anyway, I'm sitting there, and here is this absolutely adorable Tinkerbell, and she is throwing her head around. Well, it changed everybody's mind, and that was the first time that I ever saw any film on the movie, and I'll remember that forever. But I just want to add one thing. I had lunch with Mark Davis years later at Club 33, I will have you know. Ooh. Anyway, I said, Mark, whatever possessed you to draw this wonderful little character showing her underpants? And he said, Margaret, did you notice they are always clean?
I was at the premiere of Bambi up by the San Fernando Valley north of Los Angeles. He wanted to release it in December of 41. Guess what happened 7 December 41? Pearl Harbor, right? Bang, right? He put it off. A lot of people today, including some people at Disney a few years ago at a meeting I was privileged to attend, did not know that he had a hard time financing this thing because he demanded all the movements, including the raindrops, ding, 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 be done in oil, like Rembrandt, okay? Not watercolor, okay? You pioneer in this. We're at the premiere. Big searchlights for the very first time because Pearl Harbor had just happened. Everybody is traumatized. I mean, traumatized. No movie has ever been made proper about how we were after 41. Okay? We were zombies, people walking around, okay? Traumatized. In the theater, packed, premiere. So mothers put their hands over their children's eyes when the mother got shot.
Yeah.
Huh? Now think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Are we jaded today or not?
Whoa.
I know children that are killing the gunshots in half-hour films today. And I say that out loud whether studios like it or not. Okay? Bang, 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 boom, 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 boom. Okay? Over their eyes, the children. Huh? One cute thing I need to share. If I don't, I'll get censored. I did not know the storyline. I'm 6 years old. I'm working on some of this for the facial model stuff. And I'm 6 years old, maybe going on 14. I'm reading newspapers well. I'm not jaded, but I'm aware, okay? I don't know the storyline. Nobody told me what this is about. I'm doing all this stuff. What is this about? Okay? And I'm making a pest of myself, I'm sure. We got a photograph of this, didn't we? Okay. And finally, some nice lady set me down with the lady that played for Lean. I never saw her before, and shared us a little cameo about what the story's about. I'd never seen a deer. So we came out of the depression, dirt poor. Now we're not dirt poor. Work, work, work. What's a deer? I saw one in a magazine or something. What's a deer? What's a deer? Finally, poor Disney people could not stand it. They put me in a limousine with a hood the length of this room, okay? And two Disney executives, young folks with my mom, took me to a zoo, I think Burbank or Glendale or something.
Yep.
A little zoo, nice zoo. And in the zoo, we all come, in a pit, well-groomed pit, was one deer. Here's the deer. Watch me. Here's the deer. Somebody gave me some corn. I threw it at the deer. Almost got him, right? Watch. Here's the deer with the corn. I turned to my mother. Quote, they got this in the archives. Mom, if that's a deer, I don't want to do that. He's boring.
Thank you very much.
Both them guys ratted me out to Mr. Disney. A day, not more than two later, here he comes down the hallway working, and I'm going down the hallway again. I don't remember why. I had something in my hand. I'm going down the hallway like I'm supposed to do for a change. And here he comes, and he looks at me and smiles. Says, gracious man, okay, puts his hand up. I've been with him several times. He says, hi, Donnie. I understand you went to the zoo yesterday. Yes, sir. You saw a deer. Yes, sir. Then listen to this. I love this to death. He looks at me with his classic smile. He says, Donnie, don't worry. Our Bambi will not be bored.
Oh.
And he certainly wasn't.
It wasn't.
Do we have a couple of minutes to talk about being a child actor?
Absolutely. We have, yes, we do have a couple minutes.
Okay, I want to bring up the fact that, it's changed a little bit now, but when you were a child actor, you were isolated. You got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and if you were in front of the camera, you didn't do much in front of the camera. I did about 37 major motion pictures, and we had to put on this horrible grease paint and so on. About 5 o'clock in the morning, have a little something to eat, get over to the studio, get pushed into a cold sound stage, and over into a little box that was made out of fabric, it seemed, and your teacher or your social worker was there, and that we had grown-up tables and grown-up chairs, which at 4 years of age were really not comfortable, as you can imagine. But we did have teachers and social workers that were on our team. That was the one thing that we had. And if you were shooting a movie, not an animated movie, but but you whispered the whole day. You are not and if the bell rang, it was like that. You could only work 20 minutes before the camera, and that was, excuse me, 3 hours overall, which was, when you think about it, here's what happened. You learned your lines the night before, over and over and over again. You said it in the car as you were going, if you had a car, and you learned these lines and you had them, and you sat down and you started to do some kind of homework that had nothing to do with your lines or where you were at a school, if you were going to school at the time. And you were writing like this because the table was so high. And then they would call you. And then you had to remember what the scene was, and you marched out and you were praying that nobody had changed the lines because they would do that on you. And you got out, and all the grown-ups had been working on the scene. You walked into it, and you had to do it 2 or 3 times, and you would have grown-ups that say, as you made a mistake. It really, and one time I was on a movie called, Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer. And Ann Gillis was playing a main role in it. And I was dressed up in my darling, I looked adorable, but that's beside the point. And we're standing there, and we're, Tom and his buddy are lost in the tunnel, in the cave. And so she's standing there all dressed up in the camera, and they're ready to go, and the people are around. And so help me. In front of everybody, this director walked up to her and he says, "You've got to do better, you know. Your acting has really, really gone down. I don't know if you don't really settle down and do your part and do it well, we're going to have to change over to someone else. I don't know what's happened to you." I mean, this is in front of her, and of course she started to cry, as you can imagine, and she is sobbing, and the director says, "Okay, action." And they caught her on camera sobbing for this scene. They did that quite often to you, and they didn't care whether, the only one who really cared about you on the set was your social worker. Or teacher. She was usually a she, who was just absolutely wonderful. But you were so isolated. I did a movie with Bobby Driscoll called If You Knew Susie. There were the two of us. There was nobody else. It was the two of us there every day doing this. It was a tough row to hoe for a little kid, but what they were looking for, and he is the exception, they were looking for a 4-year-old who was going on 32, and you had the discipline. I love the fact that I was disciplined. I really, to this, my 90 and a half birthday, I'm still disciplined because of it. But it was a tough thing, and kids, and what do you say about that? Was it tough for you?
It stole your childhood. My warmest recollection was it helped my parents stop working for 20 cents an hour.
Right.
It helped them bring folks from Ireland that would not have been able to do it otherwise, and some other folks, and that help went on and on. Well, somebody recently asked me, what happened to all the money, okay, because I never saw a dime. I mean, no residual, forget that word, okay? Right. What happened to all that money? Now at age 85 and at age 25, I had this thought. It helped a lot of people, and that's what this is about. Right.
Now, how many of you people out there have Disney Plus? Are you guys familiar with Disney Plus? Now every, well, not every, but almost every...
Is that electronic? No, I don't know anything about it.
Almost every Disney movie is now on a streaming service. So you can watch Bambi and immediately go and watch Peter Pan right from your phone, your television. What do you have to say for those that are still watching these movies in 2019?
You're good folks. No, seriously. They're loving movies. They're not killing each other. They're not, doing all the things. And so I know I have people that watch the Andy Griffith Show, for example. That's what they put on. And they watch an episode a morning. Whatever, they cannot put up with what else is going to go on. So I call you good folks. And besides that, I'm in so many of them that I love it.
We've been able to use Disney's classic films as counter-therapy, as therapy for children in a lot of places that otherwise are exposed to boom, boom, bang, bang. Now somebody says, well, he doesn't like boom, boom, bang, bang. Wait a minute, 25 years in the Marine Corps, shot 3 separate times, I know something about boom, boom, bang, bang, okay? So I'm not a wimp about this, okay? But we are just exposing children terribly.
Yes.
Volumes of violence. They see Bambi, now Texas, West Texas, boom, boom place, right? Parents call me and thank us for showing it to the PTA. Thanks us for showing it to the children at the hospital, okay? And Tinkerbell. There are veterans in Texas that get the biggest kick out of them. I say, don't mess with me, I know Tinkerbell.
But there were love in those movies. When they made them, there was love. There was lots of arguments. There was lots of all those things, but it was always pointed towards, well, Frozen is out again. Again, look at it, and it's all pointed towards love, to finish up and to be happy together. How many? Well, I won't go into that. I couldn't give you the number, but it is wondrous that we can do this thing. Do you know the Andy Griffith, Charlie Ruggles show that I did 172 of them twice because we did network and then we did West Coast. So we had to do the show twice almost. They are still showing them. I still get letters from them. What wonderful home feelings and the love that was in it. And of course, I think it was one of the best things, and I'm sorry, I'm 90, I don't remember what it was called, but you remember there was a releasing corporation that Disney had that was releasing other than Disney movies, and this was many, many years ago, about 30 years ago, 40 years ago. They stopped it. They said, we don't want to release those. I went, yes, yes. So I really, it makes a difference.
How many of you guys are fans of Valentine's Day? Miss Kerry, could you explain to me and everybody else why you are a big fan of Valentine's Day?
I'm getting married on Valentine's Day. I will tell this quickly. It's a Disney story. When I was working on all the things that I've told you about when I was about 18, 19, 20, around in there, I dated a young man who was going to USC. He had just gotten out of the Army, and he had served over in World War II. And we were getting along just fine, but I got the job of doing Tinkerbell, and he got transferred. He had graduated, and he transferred, so we didn't see each other again. And I got a call in May, or an email, I should say, that said, how would you like to get together with Bob Bokey again, Robert Bokey? And I thought, would I ever? Because that was this man's name. That was 70 years ago. And a Disney story. He's over at the commemoration of D-Day, and he's going on a tour, going to end up on June 6th at the Normandy, and going to be honored there. And they're walking down the street, his group that's going on this tour, and he walks down the right street in Amsterdam, and there is it looks like a toy shop, and it says, Tinkerbell's Toys. And he turned around to everybody and said, I know Tinkerbell. I've been in love with her all my life. Yeah. And there was a lady in the group who was one of those wonderful ones. I know how to get in touch with everybody. And so she went on my website, which is Tinkerbell Talks. It was forwarded to me. We talked on the telephone. It was just as if we hadn't missed the 70 years. He's a widower for 8 years. I'm a widow for 20 years. And I said, I'm going up to Mount Airy, which is Andy Griffith's birthplace, and we're going to do Mayberry Days. We're going to come on up. And he says, when I get my 94th birthday, which will be next week, I will drive up. He drove the 8 hours up. We met, we looked at each other, and it was love the second time around. Yes. And to add he bought me a house 2 days ago.
Is this not the value of a long, wonderful courtship?